This is Scott the Fix-It Guy, and today we have a Whirlpool French door fridge that's having trouble making ice. And here's a couple things you can check. Usually this will be a pretty easy thing to fix. One thing you can check first is make sure that it will give you water. So this one's doing good on water. When you press on this particular fridge, you press this button, you can figure out what kind of ice. This would be like finely chopped ice, and this would be the cubed ice, so it gives you a little control over what type of ice you want. But when you press in, that should trigger it and allow ice to come into your glass. One thing you could make sure is that you do have water coming in. Again, that's the best way to check. If you don't have water there, a couple things could be happening. One is that maybe the temperature inside here is too cold. It should be at 38 degrees. But if it's too cold at 32 degrees or below, then what happens is the water line that comes into the ice maker gets so cold that it freezes, and because it freezes, it can't get new water into the ice maker. So that's possible. It's unlikely, but you could check to make sure your temperatures are okay. So I'm holding that for 3 seconds. It's giving me 38 degrees on the fridge, and that's really good. If you wanted to go up, you could press this button, and that'd bring you up one, or you can come down. But 38 is going to be really good. For the freezer, it should be 0. But for the fridge, so that you don't end up with a frozen condition, you don't want to go below 32. So if that temperature is okay, you're still not getting water, you're not getting ice. Behind your refrigerator, down low, you may see, I don't know if you guys can see this on the video, but there's a white tube and there's a valve. You can make sure that valve is turned all the way to the left. Counterclockwise would open it all the way. If you don't see a valve like that behind your refrigerator, you may have the valve instead underneath your sink. And there should be one for your faucet, and one for your dishwasher, but there might be another one that could be for your refrigerator. You make sure that's all the way open, and that's guaranteeing that you have water. So that's one thing you can check, is just the water flow. So another thing you can do, if you still don't have ice coming, you may have a clog right here that's in the door. So what happens is the ice is generated in the ice maker and then the ice bin, and then when you want ice, it'll come down through here. This door will open up, and this will turn and bring ice down into this chute, and then it'll go through this little door, and then it'll go into your glass. Sometimes, especially on a hot day, some of the ice can melt and then fuse together and create like an ice dam there at the bottom. Pretty easy to fix. You just look in there, and if you see a bunch of stuff caught, you can actually see a little bit of ice caught there. You can just grab it, put it in the sink, throw away the ice. Eventually you may need to get your fingers in there and then reach around on the other side. You can see that little door there, and then remove any ice that might be blocking it. It's actually a pretty common reason. So the next thing to do is check your ice bin. You can press in on this button right here, and then you can pull this whole bin towards you. And we can see with this refrigerator that there's plenty of ice in there. If you opened it and you saw there was no ice, that could mean that the ice is just not being generated. When we look in here, we see there's a metal arm with a piece of plastic attached to it. It goes up and down. So when you put in the ice bin, if the ice bin is full, it'll push this arm up, and it'll tell the ice maker not to make any new ice because the bin's already full. But if you opened up yours and you saw there was no ice in the bin, And you notice that this arm was stuck up. What you could do is just try to gently pull it down so that it's in this down position. That activates a little switch which will allow new ice to be made. It takes a while for the ice to be made once this arm is in the correct position. So if you get that arm in the right position, it's still not making ice, and you've checked that you do have water coming in, then probably your ice maker, this piece, would need to be replaced. To get that out, not that hard to do. We have to remove this little piece. You put a little screwdriver in here, push down. You can pull this piece out. Put a screwdriver or use your finger right here to pull this tab away, and then grab the ice maker and pull it out of this chute. It'll come out, but it'll come out with the auger assembly, this whole back area. So that whole thing will come out. And then you can order a new ice maker. It won't come with the auger assembly, it'll just be the ice maker, and you can replace it. Not too hard to do. Another thing you can try is you can reach in and grab this silver thing, this auger that's hooked to the auger motor, and you can turn it. So you might notice it makes like a gear sound, and if you get it going, then you let go for a second, they'll actually turn a little bit further. That's showing you that that auger is attached well to the gear assembly and then to the motor. If that thing spun really easily without resistance, or didn't spin at all, that might mean that your auger motor is having trouble, and it's not hard to replace. Again, you take out the auger and the ice maker together after you get this piece out, and then you can replace that, and they don't cost very much. So I think the first thing you want to check, probably the smartest thing, is to make sure you have water coming. Just put a glass there. If you do have water coming, you know how you have water coming into the system, and that's good because that gives you a good chance to make the ice. In the back there is a little device, a solenoid, that when activated it lets water come in here, and also another switch lets water come into your ice maker to make ice. If the solenoid isn't working, then it won't let water come in to make new ice, and you can replace the solenoid. It's not too hard to do. But again, first thing is make sure you have water. If you do have water, you still don't have ice. You might just have this chute clogged with ice. If you look in there and we see in this fridge it's nice and clear, you know that's not the problem. Then you can pull out this ice bin. In our case it's full of ice, so we know it's doing good. But if you pulled it out and there was no ice in there, you check this arm and make sure that it's not in this up position, because then that'll never make ice. It's got to be in this down position for it to make ice. And then again, you can check the auger motor. Just turn that by hand. Other thing is to check your temperature settings so that the temperature in here is not below 32 degrees. If it was, you'd also notice other things would be freezing, because that's a temperature where water will freeze. So that should do it, and that should get your machine going. There are some diagnostic steps you can go beyond what we did here today that involves just taking off this cover and bypassing jumping a wire inside here, as well as some commands you have to do on the touchpad. But I don't think that would be necessary. If you've done all these steps and you're still not getting ice, I would suspect that the motor or the gears inside the ice maker have failed, and it's just time to get a new ice maker, which is, again, it's pretty cheap, and you can easily pull this whole unit out and then replace just this component, the ice maker. You can hook it onto the new auger or the old auger assembly, and you're all ready to go. All right, so hopefully that'll help you guys get your ice going. And you have to get this bin back. It just goes into these rails here. Just gently push it back. Locks in. And if your ice maker is working, you push in. Should get some nice ice like that. So thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you get your ice maker going again real soon.